Oh.
Yeah, I know it's new. We just started last week.
Hey, lady. Um, yeah, it's actually on theme with today's meditation, the topic at the end about language, because the like what I find with language and like the code words, like when Dustin was talking about in the music industry, when like when you call it the what was it, the bones graveyard or something?
Boneyard.
Boneyard, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, when you have those little clues, it just I don't necessarily see it as like it's not necessarily keeping anyone out. It's just a more efficient way to know that you're on the same page and can communicate at that quantum level so that you don't have to spend so much time translating who you are into language and then being able to receive someone else's translation of who they are. So I was thinking of all the code words in the spiritual community, like I know that Kay and I speak a lot about quantum communication and quantum leaps, and the word quantum is used all the time. And I was like, that's probably something that I'm not going to hear, a word I'm not going to hear when I'm talking with my parents or something.
No.
Um, so when someone else uses something like that or says like intentions or manifestations or shadow work or all these words in the spiritual community that I can tune into, like, okay, so we speak the same language. And it just creates more efficiency in communication. Like whatever those words symbolize to us, they probably symbolize something similar.
Yeah. And you know what? It got me really thinking about kids, the children, how they love to make up their own language and their own words and the code names. And I mean, I've seen it in movies as well where they have a whole book of their own code words. And there was another movie I watched recently with my husband. It was some kind of zombie movie. We watched it twice because it actually, in relation to a lot of the things that were happening, like there was a lot of things that were being said, and that's why we're like, okay, let's go watch it again. And he thought I wouldn't watch it with him again because of that. I'm like, and then he went to watch it, and I got a little like, you're watching it without me? I want to watch it too. So, anyways, how a brother and sister, when they lost their parents, she stopped speaking. She It's not that she couldn't, she just stopped speaking. So because of that, what they did is they developed a sign language with their hands that was their own.
Mm-hmm.
And like, and one of the guys in there, he was just fascinated. He wanted to learn, but he didn't get a chance to learn, right? Their own sign language, because like I've seen sign language, but I don't understand because it's so different. Um, and that's what for some, for most of us, using code words, right? Manifestation. We know what it is, but we had to go through learning what it is and understanding it.
Right.
And we can say it, and everyone who knows what manifestation is based on their own experience, they understand it. And they don't, like, we don't have to explain it.
Hi.
But for somebody new coming in, like this one here, if he asked what that was, I would have to explain it in his own way so he can understand it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right? It kind of like it shortens the conversation, and at the same time, you it builds a community right around that language, because then anyone outside of the community, they feel like an outsider because of the words that they're hearing, and they're not understanding what that mean. Quantum jump, quantum leaps, word quantum. um, Most people will not be using that word. Like, I don't have, and none of my old friends would know what that is. Like, to them it would probably be like more mathematical
Mm-hmm.
or
Yep.
scientific,
It is.
which
It's
it
like
is.
straight math.
But in the spiritual community, it's not scientific. It's more of a spiritual where you can quantum jump into the future that you want,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or the energy that you want. Still not working?
Like timeline hop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. That's one of the videos we did a while back. Here.
Yeah, it worked.
Worked? Okay. Third time's a charm. Um, yeah. Anyways, what else is coming up for you? Because I feel like there's like something in there that you want to say. That's why mine is like,
I mean, there is so much. Like, one of the reasons I appreciate learning about the 7 levels so much is because it shows us sets of language for each level of energy. Like, I feel bad, for example, or um, typical like level 1 sayings, level 2 sayings. It's just sets of patterns, sets of language. And as Kay was saying on the call, it's patterns, and we repeat them. They become the stories we tell ourselves until we bring conscious awareness to energetically what these stories might be creating for us in our lives and the results that they're creating for us. So learning more the language within levels 5, such as what's the opportunity here? So that became like a code for me, an access code. If I ever perceived a situation, if I was ever perceiving it from a place of stress and I tuned in like, oh, I'm acting stress or feeling stress, I have the access code. What's the opportunity here? And then I perceive an opportunity through the situation. And then, knowing that level 6, like, okay, that like goes with joy. So what taps me into joy? And then the result of joy is wisdom. So having these language to apply to these frequencies of contraction and expansion, it's like these codes, and being able to know when to activate certain codes through language. Like, English is my first language, so it's helpful for me to use that to my advantage, like use language to my advantage through these different modalities. That is like saying, what's the opportunity here over getting bogged down or trapped in a spiral state. It's many quantum leaps from where the stress might take us.
mm-hmm. And to me, that's what popped into mind, like jumping the energy levels, the quantum leap, the quantum jump, where I also, as you were talking, I thought, well, is it possible that there are communities built around each and every level of energy as well, right? Because level 7 is the spiritual people that I see that are like Buddhists and monks that are living up in the mountains, that they're living in level 7, and all of them admire people being able to live in level 1 and 2, right? They might not relate to it. Some of them probably do, right? Because some of them would go out and venture out, and because they understand that all human experiences need to be experienced, and they want to experience everything, and it comes from, testing all emotions, all feelings, all the experiences that they feel called to do. Whereas in North America, especially, I find that level 1 and level 2, they do have their own communities almost and their own language, because in every level of energy, there's specific language to it, right? So level 1 it's the way that I describe it that reminds me that I'm there is a self-pity party. All right. I'm pitying myself. I'm being the victim. And when I see my, like, and here's the thing, like, I watched our son. We went yesterday. We rollerbladed to a park. I took our shoes off. Well, me and my husband rollerbladed. The kids went on the bike, took our shoes off, and we played frisbee with our bare feet on the grass. I had to take pictures of my husband, like, oh my god, are you becoming a hippie like me? Right? Because normally like shoes proper. But anyways, so that's kind of besides the point. And I see that at a certain point, my son becomes the victim. That you guys are taking too long to throw me a frisbee because we're trying to teach Mila, or James is trying to teach Mila how to throw. So he's on the ground, all upset. Nobody sees me, nobody notices me, and you can see and you can feel that energy roll around because he's rolled around as well. And I'm just like, this is what's going to happen. He is going to be allowed to stay in there and rewarded for staying there. Because, oh, okay, here you go, your turn. Okay, everybody, okay, let Ethan go. It's his turn. And I'm just like watching this happen, observing it. And this is how level one gets introduced into our lives, where, oh, there is such a benefit to it for me to be in there, for me to roll around and look like I can't fight and stand up for myself because it's easier that way. It will be brought to me, literally. Not only that, they will do what they can to uplift me and help me to feel better.
Yeah.
Right? So as I'm watching that, I I mean, I just watched it. I didn't want to interfere. Um, because it'll happen on its own. Because for me, the way I see it is, if I'm going to let my husband do his parenting, right? I'm not going to insert myself and say, no, you do it this way. This is what I'm seeing. This is what it is. Not in this time, not in this moment. This is a conversation for after, right? If I want to have that conversation. And for me, the way that I would approach that is I would have a conversation with him to help him understand where he is. Mm-hmm. Ask him a question. Do you want to stay here or do you want to go somewhere else? Do you want to quantum jump to another level, to another experience? What's another way of approaching this situation? You're not getting a frisbee? Okay, well, what other games do you know that you can play, like in this moment, to get the frisbee? Which will be a lot more fun, right? And I know he'll come up with some games. The one that he would definitely come up with would be Monkey in the Middle, right? He'd be trying to chase it. So as we're talking about language, body language is in a way part of that as well. Just because he wasn't really saying anything, his body was speaking loudly. And then if he was put in a yard full of children, and all of them would be at different energy levels, they would kind of, certain energy levels would group together and they would have their own conversations. I see it a lot in adults. In level one, they would gather together and they would have a pity party in a way, like, um, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying it in a mean way. I'm saying it in a way that this is what I call it for myself. So I'm using my own language, and it's not to offend anyone because I know some people might get offended by it, but I mean nothing by it. It's just how I use that language, how I see myself in there, where I am having my own self pity party. And in that time, I find myself having conversations with people that are having their own self pity party, right? So, Rachel, for you, how do you see like these groups of, you know, communities around energy levels?
Kind of like two different worlds. Like with kids, it's one thing, it's healthy. Like when I've been researching narcissism, I've also researched healthy narcissism, and is what how kids get their needs met. Um, and so that's definitely one thing. But with adults, we don't realize that we're continuing those patterns of relating. Like I love that you brought up what what we recognize as kids, what we start getting out of playing the victim. Like people have sympathy for us and start doing things for us and feeding into whatever it is that'll they perceive will make us feel better. And that's totally natural, and it is one way of relating, especially because we as humans also like to feel needed and like to feel helpful. So it might feel like everybody wins. We get to make them feel better. They feel better after having their own pity party. And then, yeah, so I see that as totally natural, and also sometimes even those who tend to resonate more in the more expanded frequencies might need to take breaks from being there to rest, rejuvenate, recuperate, and might take a dip. But for the most part, it does feel like two different worlds. Like when we talk, when I'm in uh, gatherings or conversation with the friends that I've chosen over the past year or so, past few years now. It's taken a while for me to feel comfortable with cutting a lot of cords where the conversation, where the feedback loops tend to be judgmental,
Mhm.
or um, or kind of like woe is me. um and it is really apparent, like I notice it. So I live in a house now where there's no news on ever, like no mainstream media, nothing. Like we don't even have a TV anymore. um and so our feedback loops, and for anyone listening, I'll just explain a bit more what I mean by feedback loops. So our brains have thoughts in patterns, and it's micro. Like this is at the quantum level where thoughts can enter. So any interaction, any situation, any influence. So it could be something we see on Instagram. It then becomes part of the feedback loop, and that circulates in our brains, in our thought forms. And it became, over the past year, it became really important to me to really purify my feedback loop, just as I would purify food, a diet that I'm eating. The interactions and influences that enter my mind are just as important, if not more important to me. And so yeah, so that's why the TV's gone, and anything that might program us to think a way that's not of our own design. We've gotten really clear on what that might be, and even they even friends, even if we have to be discerning with friends who haven't purified their own feedback loops, and they start kind of leaking into ours, we might have to swing a sort of discernment. So what I've noticed is when I enter a culture or another organization, which could be a family, a group of friends, and their feedback loops are very different. It's really apparent. So, for example, when I go home to visit my parents, they have the news on. Like my parents and my grandma have the news on pretty much all day. Um, I mean, not when my parents are at work, but the before they leave the house, and as soon as they come home, they turn the news on. Every time I go visit my grandma, she's got the news blasting, and I just kind of observe, and then I hear what they say. Like language that my grandma and her two daughters use a lot are, "It's terrible, isn't it terrible? It's so terrible." And at this point, I'm so far removed from that feedback loop that when I hear it, my first thought is, it is what it is. It just is. I'm not here to judge something as terrible. Who knows if it's terrible? And they seem really like that doesn't resonate with them. So anytime they're perceiving something as terrible and woeful, and I have an it non-judgmental, it is what it is kind of response, it's as though I've said something that's really offensive, like to humanity. Um, so it's really interesting, really apparent, like when the feedback loops are really programs, especially by media, to fall victim. So or if it's my dad, so those are the women in my family. If it's my dad and my oldest brother, their what comes out of their mouths after watching the news is more like angry, like more level 2. So I'm seeing a culture that's watching a lot of programming, a lot of mainstream media, and then how it filters out through them, their expression, it comes out as level 1, victim, woe is me, or level 2, they're wrong, I'm right, that guy's an idiot, those people are morons. And those are frequencies that I don't relate to anymore. Is I don't judge them, completely understand them, and I do believe there's a place for every level, every stage, every phase that everybody's in. I just don't relate to it. So I can be present and watch it and know that um I understand them. They don't understand me, and that's okay. I love them. And then when it's time to leave, I'm grateful to come back to the frequency of this house, which is really peaceful, and clear. Uh, and that's more important to me than being able to join in for the water cooler conversation. But again, it's just how people relate, and I think that um, there's a line in this book. It's called "The Fruitful Darkness" by Joan Halifax, and and if and I just love it. Um, I'm just gonna share because it has to do with this relating. Um, so uh, she writes, we also have a social umbilicus, or like a social umbilical cord, which ties us to society. This cord is cut in the process of the wounding of initiation. So I love that because it kind of illustrates when we go through our self initiation, this path of self actualization, we might need to cut the cord to society, and it might be scary because we're not going to relate to the tribe that we once knew. And then she goes on to say, but there's another umbilicus that cannot be cut. This cord, like a great lattice, ties us to each thing that dwells through us and in which we dwell. It is the life cord or net that connects us to the womb of creation. We live in and through the body of this lattice like cord, just as we live in the Milky Way that stretches across the sky. And it goes on. But that cutting, so to cut the cord, I've cut through various initiations and rites of passage. I cut the cord to many groups that I once related to by putting on a mask of the former version of myself. And when it got to the point where I realized I no longer even relate to that version of myself, I relate to the version of myself that I'm dreaming up. And it's time to actually embody that version that I'm moving closer to alignment. I've had to cut that cord that connects me to all those mirrors that I once related to. So even if it meant that I can't talk about subjects the same way I used to, and I'm just kind of an outsider looking in at a tribe, talking, whether it's, I used to be able to relate to a political party, that I was raised within this culture of a political party,
Mhm.
and I cut the cord. I don't relate to any political parties anymore. They just seem like these binary options to me, and I don't live in a binary world anymore. And that's what level 2 creates: is I'm right, you're wrong, we're good, they're bad, binary options. And that's limiting. And so I no longer relate. And any of the conversation that goes along with that, I once was able to converse and relate and be part of the conversation, make people laugh, people would agree with me, and it meant a lot that validation and acknowledgement that I was part of that tribe. It meant a lot to me at the time, and I've really felt confident. It helped my confidence and my self-esteem to receive the laughs, the acknowledgement, and then when I cut that cord and kind of drifted off, it was scary when I landed in a tribe where we speak the way we speak, and it energizes me and fuels me and just feels better, and I relate more. Like my mask is off. I'm a human being, and I relate more than judging. Judging doesn't feel good and to me. So yeah, it's kind of like two different worlds that are existing simultaneously, and one is more expanded. I kind of see it as like there's this expanded world moving and navigating around this contracted world, and I think it'll be this way for a while.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of us actually do live that way where it's almost like two versions of ourselves. One version is that we are our full self, and we can't be our full self with everyone. Why? It's because when we're not everybody's cup of tea. That's the way I would explain it. Is there's people that I might meet in the street and have a conversation with them, and I instantly feel the vibe. Right, that's how I describe it. And the conversations instantly can go from great weather today we're having to, oh my god, I love meditation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't even have to explain what meditation is because it's a language that the spiritual community would have. And that's where this person can be in my tribe, right? And sometimes it takes time for us to see if they are or not. But, and then there's other times when we meet someone and we restrict, we contract, we close because we can instantly feel who we are is not welcome here
Yeah.
because we are at different frequencies, we are different energy levels, we speak a different language, we're from different communities, we're from different worlds. So we shut down. And I mean, I've tested this many, many, many times before, and I still allow myself to be myself because I'm not going to be anybody else. I can only be myself. So most of the time, I just like walk away or go somewhere else. But with these times where I wanted to test and see, allow myself to be myself, and body language is a language, and you can see when you are not, it's not that you're not welcome, it's that you're not the right fit. I mean, we all go shopping for clothes, and skinny jeans don't look good on everyone. Like, and skinny jeans don't feel comfortable to everyone, and not everybody likes skinny jeans, right? But so what I'm saying is that we all have different things that we like and we don't like, we resonate with and we don't resonate with. And then when you were talking about the news, right? I haven't watched the news. Oh, man, I think I might have been like 22 years old the last time I watched the news. And I'm 35 now. So you do the math. I don't want to do the math. It's too early on Monday. And then so thinking back and then hearing what you're talking about, like how your mom talks, how your dad talks, how the news are always on. And I don't actually know very many people. Actually, I don't know anyone that watches the news. Um, and I see a box of level 1 and level 2 and nowhere past that. And I think you've also heard, Rachel, of 1984 novel.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that Orwell.
I know I have it somewhere in my book there, but I also have it this newspaper that came to the door. I will just show the image and what it says. So So basically, this is the image,
Huh.
right? And that's the book. And this, I mean, this whole entire thing is, I'm not gonna get into it, but this is all the newspaper that comes to our door once in a while. But everything that's going on right now, death by lockdown, and in the at the very end, it's obscurity observer, and there's a bunch of stuff in the middle. I haven't even opened up because I'm like, I don't want to open. This is different kind of news. Like
Yeah.
that. Interestingly enough, in those, like in this kind of news, there are parts that are coming from a level 3 and level 4 and even level 5 as an opportunity, right? But when we're talking about the actual news on TV, even thinking back, I don't remember ever feeling good after watching it. And the reason why I refer to the 1984 novel is because 2 minutes of hate that they were talking about and describing, and these 2 minutes of hate turned into hours of watching the news, right?
Mhm.
It's just like all day, every day, and hate causes you to feel like a victim or I need to fight.
Yeah.
And it's very limiting because there's a lot more to the human experience than level 1 and level 2. They're great. Don't get me wrong. I love those levels and I use them. I use them. They don't use me. I use them to my benefit. I mean, sometimes level 1 does use me before I'm not conscious enough to click in and say, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then work through it. Um, and then there was another thing you were talking about that caused me to feel, changing tribes. Like when you were talking about how certain groups of people, certain communities was no longer fitting to you because this was the old version of you that you no longer resonate with, that, that's not you and that's not who you will ever be again. It got me to think about, well, some of us might not have such like drastic experiences where we've gone through so much growth that we are no longer like the person that we were even like a year ago. You you can't even put them side by side and say that they're the same person. That's the amount of growth that I know you have gone through, I have gone through, and the people that are in my circle have gone through. And it's almost like moving to a new community,
Yeah.
from one house to another. When you move, and this is the
Yeah.
example that other people can use, it might be more relatable if you haven't gone through that much growth. When you move from one house to another in a different area or a different town, there's going to be a lot of new things that you will experience on all human emotions, right? On all human experiences. And you will go through growth. And you might have actually end up even, especially if you moved from a smaller house to a bigger house. This is where it's really interesting. Is this is one of the ways that you can find yourself outgrowing your friends. So you no longer align with your old friends
Mhm.
because they're on a different level, even though they're not. It's just you have moved up, you have grown, you have different lenses now. And there's nothing wrong with the people that were your friends, and there's nothing wrong with you. It's just you've matured. Maybe you've had another puberty, right? Another like growth spurt. So
Yeah.
embracing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's what relationships are for. Relationships are for relating, the sake of relating. And so something that's really helped me, like when you said this version of myself side by side with the previous version of myself would be two completely different people. I wouldn't relate to her. So I've kept that in mind that the relationships we keep are mirrors and reflections of who we're being, the patterns that we're perpetuating or choosing. And so, what was really helpful to minimize judgment when I was growing and I didn't want to judge my friends. I knew it was me. I was the one who was evolving, and so I kept seeing them as myself, or focusing on the former version of myself. So, for example, I used to drink a lot, and like, to the point now where I'm kind of shocked by how much I used to drink, that my body, like with how much I know about health now and our bodies, and our cellular health, I'm even shocked that I made it to this point. Like, our bodies can process a lot for us.
Mhm.
And when I'll see, like, I can use my gift of clairvoyance to see mini movies of myself, like a montage of myself when I was drinking a lot, and all the friends that I had when I was, and the fun we would have, and when I was growing out of those patterns, I had a lot of judgment for myself, and it came out as judgment for the patterns and sort of like aggression toward them. Not to my friends, but those patterns. Like, I felt like we had been lied to, like we had been, like, alcohol is dangled in front of all of our faces at such young ages as how we relate. Just as the victim state and anger and judgment and gossip is how we were taught to relate. And so, yeah, using my former version of me as the mirror has helped me to mitigate any judgment, like while I was going through it, because it could be very tempting to judge the people around us when we're growing. It's like there's these layers of avatars that we're jumping into. So first we're this avatar, and then the next one's right here, and then when we jump from this one to this one, there's a tendency to immediately judge that last one, and it's until we get to the next one that we have compassion for that, like, two avatars ago. So just keeping in mind, like, it's all reflections, like we're all just reflections, and it can be really scary and really heartbreaking to be the first one in a tribe to evolve from those patterns. The first one to be like, drink is not working for me. I'm gonna stop drinking. I don't know if you're gonna be my friends anymore. And it usually doesn't come out with that much, calm. Clarity is usually very messy. We don't really know um, how to communicate our growth that well, and uh, people take things personally, and so something that also has helped me through each stage of growth is not personal, it's vibrational. It's nothing personal here. Not rejecting anybody, or just choosing this path. And yeah, it could be a really trying, but ultimately rewarding experience to keep moving toward alignment, even if that means cutting all those cords to those tribes. I kind of see them as like, there's a tribe, there's an organism, and there's like an umbilical cord to us. And when we can see clearly that that organism is feeding us with um, feed the feedback loop that doesn't serve us, yeah, we are in control of how much longer we keep feeding from that umbilical cord. You know, we could focus on the on what we do admire in others at that point. Like, once we're clear on it's not working, we focus on what it is we do admire, what we're seeing out there, who are the archetypes that are bringing us closer into alignment with ourselves, and then hook up our umbilical cords to that culture and feed from that instead.
Mhm. What I hear you describe is choice. That we have a choice to either, when when we outgrow a relationship, we can choose to, you know, blame the other person
Mhm.
or choose to take ownership and say, I'm the one that's growing, I'm the one that's changing. I love and appreciate that everything that I've learned and experienced being in this friendship. And then the hardest part is to let go because that feels like a loss. It feels like we've lost something. And everyone knows what loss feels like, at least to a certain degree. And it's not comfortable. So many people quickly jump to replacing that loss with another one. It reminds me of, I forgot what the phrase is when you are in a relationship and you go and you get another relationship just to get over it.
Mhm.
That's like a phrase that's used. A rebound. There you go. It's almost like a rebound that you just jump into the next thing without acknowledging yourself, where you have been, what you have gone through, taking notes of what you've learned from this experience and
Mhm.
probably many others. And what did you learn from that? And, you know, and accepting it and saying thank you for that, and then letting go of it, giving yourself time before jumping into another pool, right?
Mhm.
It's not like I want to say the Goldilocks, where she goes from one bed to another until she finds the right one, which happens fairly quickly. And this is what we all want. We want to go from one thing to the next until we find, oh, this is the one. This is perfect. But if any one of you have gone mattress shopping, that's not how it happens. You don't just hop on from one mattress to the next and find the one that fits. Sometimes it might take some time, right? Even sleeping in a mattress at home. And the same thing in our own lives. When you become that new version of yourself, sit with it, feel it, understand it before you judge it.
Mhm.
And I know all of us, we are fairly quick to judge because it is a program that we've been given. So becoming aware that this is a program is the first step. The next step is interrupting that program, shutting that TV off and saying, I don't want to watch the news anymore. Okay. I just want to be here. And when we were doing that meditation in the morning, I caught myself changing the channel a couple of times and going to this and going to that. I'm like, no, wait a minute, focus. But I've noticed that I wasn't, the old me would have felt bad and felt like a failure that I didn't meditate the right way. I mean, there is no right or wrong way, but in my mind, there was a right way. And if it's supposed to be Zen meditation where you're not thinking, you just, any thought comes in, good or bad, or anything comes in, you just let it go. And that's the challenging part.
Mhm.
And applying that same concept to who you are now, the new version of you can be challenging as well because the old patterns, they do come back, right? The old habits, the old patterns, they come back. And it's our job to, check them at the door and treat them in the way of like that Zen meditation where, okay, great, thanks, bye, see you later. Right? I don't need you because I just want to be, right? I just want to be in the moment and be myself and experience this moment. And it's difficult for many, many people,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? And keeping that focus for longer than 2 minutes can be challenging because the monkey chattering in our mind is just it's just that it's the monkey chattering. I mean, I've watched a couple of nature shows where there's monkeys and you always hear monkeys, like if it's not one it's the other. There's no silence with monkeys. So it almost feels like that's what happens in the mind, where it's one thought, the next, and it's like, and then by the time 9 o'clock hits, I already start to feel anxious. I'm like, why am I feeling anxious? It's because I've just made a really long to-do list that should take me about a month to complete, but I expect myself to finish it in an hour. really unrealistic expectations. Um, I'm not even sure if this is part of the conversation, but it came out, so it's part of the conversation. But anyways, as we are wrapping up, we have a couple of minutes left. I wanted to hear what came up for you during, the end of the chattering.
Yeah, I something that came up is just how much we judge ourselves for any new lifestyle change we're making, whether it's meditation or if we're learning how to cook with healthy foods and how hard we are. Like, I relate to thoughts coming up during meditation, and I've just learned that this is me. I could sit in meditation for 4 hours and I will be sitting there looking at my thoughts. Like, they do not stop. And and that's just me, and that's okay because it is at least I am highly aware of each and every thought that's coming through. It's coming through, and I'll be there like, I see you. I see you too. I see you all. And then sometimes I'll orchestrate. Like this morning, I just decided to focus on the different sounds in the apartment, and I was like, okay, now it's the whole symphony. Just because that's how I is my version of meditating, and I'll stay with it. Um, but that is uh, with any lifestyle shift that I've made, especially toward health and wellness. At first, I felt frustrated because I wasn't good at it immediately. I wasn't good at cooking immediately. I wasn't good at meditation or yoga or guitar. I consider playing guitar part of my health and wellness lifestyle shifts, because it's creativity and it brings joy, and it's kind of a form of prayer for me. I wasn't good at it immediately, and yeah. So what came up for me as you were speaking is just like, whatever happened to our child like growth mindset where we're not here to be good immediately at something. We're just doing it for the love of it, doing it for the love of our future selves. And when we have faith, like something that I really love in the energetic self perception chart is it has the levels 1 and 2, zero faith, levels 3, 4, 5, strong outer faith, and level 6 and 7, inner faith. And it's that inner faith that keeps me choosing in service to my future self and in service to the greater good, in service to humanity and Mother Earth, and the ripple effect that these choices, day by day, moment by moment, that the ripple effect is worth it, and it's real, and it's really all that matters. At the end of the day, life is really a flash. It's an opportunity to create a ripple effect throughout the space time continuum. Any ripple effect we choose. So when I think about it in energetic terms, it's all energy. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can be transformed. So I came here with this opportunity to create a ripple of joy, of bliss, of love. So any shift that I make in service to that, I trust. I trust that it's creating that ripple, and it's that inner faith that keeps me showing up to Monday meditation. Keeps me picking up my guitar, even if I haven't played it in 5 days and I know it's gonna hurt my fingers. um, Keeps me choosing the foods that align with my intentional mindful eating and learning how to cook with them. Keeps me in alignment even when someone wants to offer me food that they made, and I know it'll pull me out of alignment to eat it, and there's awkwardness because if I say no, their feelings might be hurt, and just like learning through these, how to shift through these. So yeah, is worth it, and it's worth moving through the way we speak to ourselves, and how hard we are on ourselves when we can't get it right away. Like, we're not meant to. Nothing else in nature gets it right away. It's like the saying, the day you plant the seed is not the day you harvest the fruit. Like, we plant the seed, we nurture it, water it, love it, it will grow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. The way that I'm hearing it is um, approaching and what it is that we are doing with a mastery mindset or a performance mindset. So just to quickly, explain what the difference is, mastery mindset means that you're not looking towards the end result, because to you, you're more looking towards the journey and what it is that you're going to learn, and you want to become the best at whatever it is that you are doing, right? Let's use a guitar, right? For example, you want to master the guitar, you're going to show up for your guitar whenever you decide to show up for your guitar, but you're going to look at it as, I want to master it. I want to be good at it. I want to, well, maybe not, maybe not play on the thing, but master in your own eyes. And not, and then the performance would be, I want to be really good at this one particular song. I just want to play the song,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, just want to play. Like, for me, it's not about being. It's a form of prayer. Like, when I'm playing and singing, it's how it's like I with I'm sure many empaths can relate to this, because it's using the gift of clairaudience, which is clear hearing or extrasensory hearing. So we can feel a lot and receive and transmit a lot through song, through lyrics. So for me, it's just a practice in prayer. So it's not quite mastering playing guitar. It's more like connection to my form of prayer that keeps me going back. And I know if I don't show up, I'm letting that slip a bit. And I know that it is, a form of ceremony. So yeah, it's just but getting clear, like getting really clear on why we are showing up. So I know for me that's what it is. I'm clear on why I'm showing up. um, if I was telling myself I want to be really good at guitar, I might not be as clear. Um, yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, for some people that might be why they would show up.
Well, we all have our different reasons. For me, guitar is, for me, every time I say guitar, I always just want to play with the strings, but it's never been something that I wanted to even be good at,
Mm-hmm.
right? But for others, because I mean, for many reasons, but it sounds like there's the vibration, the frequency, being in the moment, and there's healing and meditation and using your clear audience and you using your voice. There's a lot that's in there that's clearly helping you, right? So it almost sounds like um, what is it? Like I want to say sacred practice.
Absolutely, and especially because it's really for the love of it. No, like, it's for the love of it. And I think that's something else that we're afraid of, is we're afraid of being amateurs. And if you look up the etymology of the word amateur, it means one who has a taste for some study, for some art, study, or pursuit. One who loves, lover, friend, to love, meaning one who cultivates and participates in something but does not pursue it professionally or with an eye to gain. So that's really what the word amateur comes from. Comes from to love, lover. And so I think we're afraid of being amateurs, when, because of the importance our society places on profit and gain. And if we can't prove that it's going to provide some kind of financial gain, we're programmed to think it's not worth my time. So with guitar and just showing up, like I am more than happy to be an amateur, playing guitar. Like it is an honor to have something within me that is like, let's do this, let's play, let's pick it up and play. Fuck it. Like what an honor. And some people who draw, people who dance, like whatever people are called to, that is a form of expression for the love of it. Like what an honor. And who cares if it doesn't result in making money? Why wouldn't it be worth our time if it's for love?
Hmm. It's like childlike curiosity and joy, playing and just having fun
Yes.
without looking to the end result, or without looking the horse in the mouth. What is this horse gonna give me?
Mm-hmm.
How is this going to reward me in the end? This is the mind that has eluded people for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
Always looking to what's in it for me.
Yep.
Well, but in the way of a financial reward. But that question is a great question. What's in it for you? It sounds like there's a lot in there for you. Everything that I already mentioned, and now on top of it is like I get to be a kid. I just get to play and mess up and love messing up because I know I'm going to be better next time. And even if I'm not going to be better, I'm still going to love because it's going to be just fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and something that I realized about being an amateur and messing up is it gives other people permission to try. Like I picked up the guitar at Kay's house a few weekends ago, and we had the coven there, and I just started playing a song that I know some of the coven sisters know. It's a song called "The Story of You," and um, we're all amateurs. Like no one there is like a star, like musician, and I think that's what gave everybody permission to like sing along. um and maybe if there was someone who's like really good, um we might all feel kind of timid about expressing as well. So yeah, like let your freak flag fly, everybody else will know it's safe to wave theirs.
Yeah. And this is why we do what we do, is to give everybody else permission to do what they want to do, to be themselves, which is the easiest yet the hardest thing to do. It's so easy because you only you know how to be yourself. Nobody else does. And it's so hard because of the fears of what will everybody else think and what will be the result of me being myself,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But if you have not received that permission before, you're getting it now. Be yourself. Get that. Wave that weird. I'm weird flag. Right. I should get one of those. I'll have my face on it.
Yeah.
Um, but anyways, thank you, Rachel, very much for, as always, another awesome topic. There was a lot that we covered in this topic. I'm not even quite sure what to call it right now, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. If you think of something, message me.
Okay. Will do.
I have a feeling you might know what name would be good for this, to get people to really know what they're about to open, like what they're about to listen to.
Mm.
That's the hardest part, and the perfectionist in me holds a lot of videos back because she's not sure what to name it or how to describe it. But I'm just this quote is, good is good enough and done is better than perfect, because I can always make it perfect later. And again, what's perfect?
Right. Right.
No such thing. Like no tree, no plant, nothing is perfect.
No. Like imagine if every tree grew in the exact same formation, like straight up without, their own unique curves. It'd be
Yeah.
weird. Be a real weird world.
And the branches, everything would be the same. The leaves would be the same. I mean, just thinking about it causes me to feel conformed.
Yeah. Sterile. Oh, it sounds like a sterilized world, a world of perfect. So yes, we're perfectly imperfect.
Yeah. So embrace it, own it, and show it off.
Yeah.
Wear
Yeah.
it like a badge. I mean, why not? So that's all. That's all we have for today. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Rachel. Thank you, everybody, for listening or watching. If you like this content, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. Why not? Check out the channel, see what's in there for you, because I'm sure there's going to be tons in there for you as well. And what else? If you know someone, chances are you might know someone who might benefit from this. If you're watching this, chances are you do know at least one person who can benefit from this information. Think of that person and send it to them.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Spread the love.
Yeah, spread the love and help everyone out, right? You're helping us out, you're helping them, and you're helping yourself, right? By helping your friend, because we all want to help. At the end of the day, that's just human nature. We want to help, especially as females, right? Men help in a different way. They have the solution for your problem. We want to help you in ways of you figure out your own solution. Here's all the information. You do what you want with it. So that's it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Much love to each and every one of you. And
Love.
until next week. Bye, Rachel. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.